Welcome to Hit and Miss, the results, rating, and review show that breaks down all the action that took place inside and outside UFC's octagon. Of course, we do this by using our sophisticated rating system to measure each fight's competitiveness, fairness, dominance, impact, and overall entertainment. Once we break down the action using our sophisticated rating system, only then can we determine if the fight or the event itself was a hit or a miss. Hit and Miss is the only UFC results, rating, and review show that highlights Easter eggs, shoutouts, fan reactions, fan theories, and other notable moments. Did you have a big win playing Daily Fantasy on DraftKings or FanDuel? Or play Monkey Knife Fight? Or maybe you just like to straight up gamble and wager on people throwing hands inside of a cage? If you won, we'd like to celebrate that joyous moment with you by taking a victory lap. At the end of each episode, we take a victory lap celebrating your big win. Alternatively, if your best bet did not pay out and you missed on it, Hit and Miss offers a walk of shame. So, whether you're watching for the recap, rating, or review portion of the show, or you'd like to take your victory lap with us to celebrate your big hit, or you want to shake off that big miss and regroup for next week, I personally thank and welcome you to Hit and Miss. I'm your host, Bobby Matthews. This episode of Hit and Miss will cover the early prelims for UFC 259 Blachowicz vs. Adesanya, taking place inside UFC's Apex Center in Las Vegas, Nevada, March 6th, 2021. The first fight of the evening was the curtain jerker between Mario Bautista and Trevin Jones. This was a competitive first round, a lot of back and forth action. Jones definitely seemed to move a lot better. He also seemed to be the more powerful physical fighter in the first round. Jones was able to reverse position a few times and ended up with the upper hand at the end of the first round. Jones was able to close the show in the second round. He put down Mario Bautista with this crazy, unique shot. Came in as an uppercut, and then he transitioned to like this weird straight hand. It came in as an uppercut, and he popped him. It was really slick, really unique, and really smooth. Bautista never saw it coming, and it put his ass down. Jones was able to capitalize on this takedown by pouncing all over him, getting in some good ground and pound onto Mario Bautista until the referee, Chris Tongoni, had seen enough and called a stop to the action in the second round, granting a TKO victory for Trevin Jones, hitting on the plus 195 underdog and also hitting on the under 2.5 rounds. Congratulations. Jones celebrated his TKO victory with a whirling dervish. And then, in what was truly a heartwarming moment, Jones was happy and excited for his post-fight interview with Joe Rogan, as anyone would be. He told Joe that this was actually his first full training camp for the UFC, and he had to sacrifice smoking marijuana. Joe Rogan, understanding, told him to go celebrate by smoking some weed. It was truly heart-melting. If you did not tear up a little bit, you might be made of stone. So, this fight was a hit. According to me, nothing but action, really good stuff. On a side note, I think that the production crew for the UFC event was slacking on the first fight. After the post-fight interview, the production team, I believe, is supposed to remove the headset off the fighter, but poor Trevin Jones just sat there and he was like, where is everybody? Where is everybody? Kind of just started throwing some hands around just to not look ridiculous. He pulled it off good. This was a hit. Our second fight in the UFC 259 early prelims is in the lightweight division between Uros and Elon Cruz. Two UFC newcomers. Cruz is 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He lost his UFC debut to Spike Carlyle. Uros is the Alaskan fighter from Anchorage who is making his UFC debut. He is an undefeated prospect with a perfect 6-0 record. He has also finished all 6 fights under 1.5 rounds. And now this fight from top to bottom was the Medic show. He came out hot, throwing everything at Cruz. He dropped him within 50 seconds of the first round, had him in the fetal position, which is much how I would react if I was in a fist fight. These are the notes that I wrote down for Uros Medic during the fight. And it reads: power, aggression, viciousness. Uros Medic continued this powerful, vicious, aggressive beatdown onto Elon Cruz for an extraordinary amount of time. Referee Mark Smith allowed Cruz to take a beating. Now, the only reason that I can think of as to why Mark Smith allowed Elon Cruz to absorb so much punishment is, well, I really don't got a reason. I've been thinking about it, and the only conclusion that I can come up with is that perhaps Mark Smith was gathering research for an upcoming book he's writing, probably titled Unnecessary Punishment. Either way, congratulations to Uros Medic improving his professional record to a perfect 7-0 and hitting on the minus 180 money line favorite, and also hitting on the under 1.5 rounds. Congratulations. This Uros Medic fight was an absolute hit. I highly recommend that you go out of your way to check it out if you have not already. It does not last long, and it is short and sweet and to the point, and it proves that Uros Medic is definitely a fighter that we need to keep our eye on in the future. And then it happened. An absolute hilarious moment happened when they returned from the commercial break. Anik was welcoming in a brand new audience to the broadcast when the director suddenly cut to the commentary team, and they were all there kind of scrambling like, oh, we did not expect this. It was absolutely hilarious. And of course, what made it hilarious was their reactions. Anik was like, oh shit, we are doing this. Rogan looked to be in some sort of meditative state, just kind of. And DC is DC. That man is a national treasure. He is absolute gold. Him just being himself, being caught off guard, shows more personality and charisma than I have this entire show. So just a quick shout out to the UFC 259 commentators, John Anik, Joe Rogan, and Daniel DC Cormier. I'm a big fan of your haircuts, and you are hands down the greatest UFC commentary team ever. And that moment was not only a hit, it was a hoot. Our next exciting fight took place in the women's strawweight division between Liviana Souza and Amanda Lemos. Lemos was in control the entire time. She seemed to be one step ahead of her opponent, controlling the octagon, landing crisp, clean shots on her opponent Souza. Lemos tried to finish the fight when she dropped her by getting in for a submission attempt, but Souza was able to go for the legs, which kind of led to a very awkward grappling exchange. Souza grabbed the legs, threatening a counter with some type of a leg lock, I believe. Keep in mind, I am a moron. Shout out to referee Jason Herzog for shutting down the fence grab attempt that Lemos was trying to pull while defending the grappling exchange on the ground. Eventually, Lemos was able to step over and regain her composure and get back into a dominant position. Now, somehow, Souza was able to bring the fight back to her feet, and she continued to just swing and miss. And while she was doing this, you could literally see the confidence on her face being reduced to absolutely nothing. Jack, zip, nil. From there, it was just a matter of time. Lemos eventually connected with another big hit that sat Souza down. And once the referee saw this horrified look on Liviana Souza's face, he knew it was over and called it. Congratulations, Amanda Lemos, on your 9-1 professional record, hitting as the minus 260 moneyline favorite, and hitting on the under 2.5 rounds. On a side note, I've been noticing how these Brazilians, once they start getting loose and confident and start feeling themselves, they almost always start doing the Christ Redeemer pose. You know, it's the big, massive Jesus statue in Brazil. I don't know what it is about these Brazilians, but they almost always do it once they start getting loose, and it makes me pop every single time. Now, the next fight on the UFC 259 early prelims was a welterweight fight between Sean Brady and the Celtic Kid, Jake Matthews. Now, Brady is an undefeated fighter holding a perfect record of 13 wins, 0 losses. Jake Matthews came into the fight coming in on a 3-fight winning streak. Now, Matthews started off the fight with good, solid boxing. He had fast hands, good defense. He was even able to catch a kick that Brady threw at him and able to drop him. Matthews dropped Brady and was even able to score a couple of good ground and pound shots. Quickly, Brady was able to recover, reverse position, and even put Matthews in a really bad spot and finish the round on top. Now, Matthews' best chance for an offensive attack was during the opening moments of the second round. He came out trying to establish forward pressure by utilizing a double jab, trying to set up a big overhand right, and Brady was not going to have it. Brady exploded and executed one of the cleanest takedowns that you will ever see. Once the fight got back to the ground, Brady was able to prove that there are indeed levels to this. And Brady is many, many, many levels ahead of Jake Matthews on the ground. And all through the third round, it was clear that Brady was ready to send it home. Brady was quickly able to get Matthews back onto the ground, push him up against the cage, and from that point, you could literally see Jake Matthews break mentally. And from this moment, it was clear that Matthews was only delaying the inevitable. And now, the inevitable for Jake Matthews turned out to be a vicious arm triangle choke that forced Matthews to tap out and even had me gasping for air. This fight was a hit. Congratulations to Sean Brady for improving to an impressive 14-0 professional record and also hitting the minus 210 money line favorite line and also hitting the over 2.5 rounds. Congratulations. The next fight was Kennedy Nzechukwu versus Carlos Ulberg. Kennedy is 1-1 in the UFC, and he actually lost his UFC debut to Paul Craig. Ulberg is making his UFC debut and training out of City Kickboxing. Now, what can I say about this fight? Other than you should definitely go out of your way to watch this fight. After hit and miss, of course. But seriously though, I have seen summer blockbusters with less action and excitement than this fight. And now, I will do my best to try and recap and rate and review the fight for you, but I need you to remember, I am a moron. Now, Ulberg came out with so much intensity, fire, and passion that I can only assume that Ulberg's coaches must have told him that if he stops, slows down for any reason, that the nuclear codes will be then armed, activated, and detonated. Now, the one word I would use to describe Kennedy Nzechukwu's performance in this fight would be perseverance. I still have no idea how Kennedy persevered through so much damage. Ulberg gave him all that he could handle. There was a one point in the fight where Ulberg threw a head kick at him, and it's a good thing Kennedy Nzechukwu had his guard up, otherwise there is a good chance that Kennedy would be in the ICU right now. Now, Ulberg seems to be a total offensive fighter. He didn't utilize any type of defense, no head movement. He didn't use any type of lateral movement, forward, backward, anything like that to try and avoid any type of pressure from Kennedy Nzechukwu. In fact, it seemed his only form of defense would be when he tried to grab a hold of Kennedy's arms and just kind of hold him there. Now, this arm-holding defense tactic did not work out for Ulberg as he started to fatigue. Yet, Carlos Ulberg, tired and fatigued, continued to fire back. He was serious about hitting these body shots. He was trying to put water in the basement, as Teddy Atlas likes to say. As it would turn out, this tactic for high volume and lack of head movement would be the downfall for Carlos Ulberg. Coming into the second round, now that is when things started to get juicy. Kennedy and Nzechukwu thought there had been an incidental eye poke during the fight, and so he wanted to get Herb Dean's attention, so he committed the cardinal sin. He actually turned his back on his opponent. Big mistake. Unfortunately for Carlos Ulberg, he absolutely should have taken advantage of Kennedy and Nzechukwu when he turned his back on his opponent, and Carlos Ulberg absolutely should have annihilated Kennedy and Nzechukwu. Luckily for Kennedy, Carlos Ulberg is a nice guy and closed the distance, but he opted out from the annihilation. Kennedy and Nzechukwu finally closed the deal when he scored a massive uppercut hit to drop Carlos Ulberg's ass. This is where Herb Dean had to step in and put a stop to the fight. Congratulations to Kennedy and Nzechukwu for improving to an 8-1 professional record and also hitting the plus 200 moneyline underdog and also hitting the under 2.5 rounds. Congratulations. And that fight was a hit. Fight of the night. I highly recommend you watch it. Then up next was our UFC 259 early prelim main event. It was a flyweight fight between Tim Elliott and Jordan Espinoza. Now, Tim Elliott has won 2 of his last 5 fights and is coming in off of a win. And Jordan Espinoza, on the other hand, has also won 2 of his last 5 fights and is coming in off a loss. Jordan Espinoza started off fast. He was moving around a lot, but it did not last long. Tim Elliott was able to counter this movement with the clinch. Espinoza was able to connect with a few good shots early in the fight. He even attempted a head kick. Now, this head kick, I believe, was a weapon he thought would be there all fight, but as it turned out, he wouldn't come close to landing that head kick. In fact, the next time Espinoza tries to throw the head kick, he regrets it. When Espinoza attempted the next head kick, Elliott made him pay with a takedown. From here, it was clear that Elliott would be a grinding, dominant force on the ground. I'm not too sure that Jordan Espinoza learned a lot in between rounds. He came out and again attempted another head kick, and Tim Elliott again welcomed him to the ground. From there, it was a lot of wash, rinse, and then repeat. It was at this moment when it changed from just a normal fight. Things took a left-hand turn down a narrative street, and it became personal. There was some definite bad blood going into this fight. Pun intended. During the fight, Elliott ended up busting his head open right here on the top, and he was intentionally rubbing blood and sweat into Espinoza's face. The blood was getting into his eyes, it was getting into his nose, it was getting into his mouth. Very disgusting. At this point of the fight, Tim Elliott was perfectly content with just holding Jordan Espinoza down and grinding his forearm directly onto his face. He put him in every uncomfortable position that you could think of. It was here where the narrative reached its peak because you could start to hear what was being said between the two, and it was not good. A lot of back and forth about this and that. A lot of it was censored by ESPN. I'm not going to repeat what I did here, but I'm just going to say if what Espinoza did was true, he definitely deserved every bit of what happened to him. And I'll leave it at that. By the end of the fight, Tim Elliott did not dial back any of the aggression. In fact, he cranked it up all the way to 11. He started really pouring it on Jordan Espinoza towards the end of the round. He even tried to pull a curb stomp on his ass. Congratulations, Tim Elliott, for improving your record to 18-11-1, hitting the minus 115 moneyline favorite, and hitting the over 2.5 rounds. Congratulations. This fight was an absolute hit. All right, then, we just got one order of business to get to, and that's go over all the hits and all the misses. So this is the portion of the show where we celebrate your big hit. Whether you bet on any of the fighters in the early prelims or won off daily fantasy on DraftKings or FanDuel, we want to celebrate with you. And of course, we celebrate by taking our victory lap. Now, you're probably saying to yourself, hey, Bobby Matthews, you moron, what are you talking about victory laps? I'm talking about victory laps. If you hit a win during the event UFC 259, either through sportsbook wagers, daily fantasy, monkey knife fight, or simply bragging rights between you and your friends and family, it is time to celebrate your victory. You deserve it, you've earned it, and to start, all you need to do is lift your head towards the heavens because you're a genius. And we're going to go ahead and open up our invisible door, and we just start walking and chanting. Move and chant. Victory, 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 victory. And then you go, yeah! Now what we do is we take everything that we missed out on from the week and we just move on. Now maybe you missed out on the picks, your wagers, your lineups from daily fantasy. Maybe it's something personal in your life that you just missed out on and you want to do better. All we can do from here is move on. Move on to the next week, move on to the next bet, move on to your next situation. So the way we move on is we take a walk of shame, we acknowledge our mistakes, and then we head on in the right direction with our head clear and our mind right, our heart right, our head clear and our heart right, and we just do better. I think that it's very important to celebrate your wins and to acknowledge your defeats. Now, we've already celebrated our victories for the week. Now, it's time to accept the blame for our mistakes and move on to the next week so we can do better. And that's with the walk of shame. And the way you do that is you lay your head down low, you open up that invisible door, and then you just start walking and chanting. Shame, 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 shame. Then we shake it off, and then we're ready to go into the next week a winner. Now, I cannot begin to describe how grateful I am that you took time out to watch this video. Thank you. I'm brand new at this if you haven't been able to tell, and so I would greatly appreciate any likes, subscribes, or comments down below. There are buttons below here on the bottom of the screen. They do like to be touched, so touch them. Thanks.